It's a busy week on the campus at the University of Alabama. A-Day is set for Saturday, and another national championship could be coming home to Titletown this weekend. We'll talk about it all right now on TITV.
Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
This past weekend was awesome for Alabama women's tennis. This is head coach Jenny Mines getting the celebratory Gatorade bath after Alabama clinched its first ever outright SEC championship. The Tide will face Ole Miss in South Carolina on this coming Friday in the first day of the SEC tournament in Columbia, Missouri. Congratulations to Bama, SEC champions. With that, we say good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris. Our program presented every week by Buffalo Rock, proud bottlers of Pepsi-Cola products across the state of Alabama. Once again tonight, great tasting Pepsi next. You spewed that one, man. All that great Pepsi taste, only 60 calories per 12-ounce can. You cannot beat it. Well, we've got a lot to cover, Rodney, on this particular program, and let's start off with our top story on TITV.
The best always rise to the top. It's time for the TITV Top Story, presented by Tuscaloosa Tractor.
Our top story presented by Tuscaloosa Tractor. We're just 4 days away from the conclusion of spring football practice for the Crimson Tide. Rodney, your thoughts on how Alabama is shaping up heading into the annual A-Day game on Saturday?
Well, I tell you what, Gary, I think it's been a productive scrimmage from what we can tell from the comments that we get from Coach Saban. Of course, we're limited in terms of what we can do in viewing the practices and the scrimmages, but, you know, Gary, we've talked about it. He's recruited really well, extremely well. They've got a lot of young players, certainly have some holes to continue to develop, but it seems like everything's coming along nicely.
And that's really what you hope for. You hope that there is a lot of progress made between practice number 1 and practice number 15, which will be on Saturday. Again, we have a limited viewing, but based on what we have seen and what we've read and heard from the coaches and players and sources that you talked to, as you said, it seems to have been a very good spring. And let's not underestimate how important this is. Obviously, fall practice, the summer conditioning, but you don't usually win a championship if you don't have a solid spring practice.
Right, and you know, you look at it, we talked about some of the holes that they had to fill in terms of, you know, this spring certainly wanted to make some progress. You look at the left tackle spot. That was open with Cyrus Kwanjo leaving, and there's question marks along the offensive line, but I think freshman Cam Robinson's made a lot of improvement, a lot of expectations on him. But Gary, you know, I think from the beginning of spring till now, he's made a tremendous amount of improvement. And I think when you look at that offensive line, you know, they're still trying to find the guys who fit into all the spots, but I think we're a lot farther along than where we started. Of
course, the fans focus on the A-Day game, but there are actually 3 full scrimmages during spring drills. There was one a week ago Saturday, then this past Saturday, the second scrimmage. Of course, the third will be A-Day on Saturday. Here's Nick Saban talking about what he saw this past Saturday in Alabama's second scrimmage at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
I saw some dramatic improvement. You know, overall, you know, there's still a lot of things that we need to work on. We really need to take advantage of, you know, these last couple practices. There's a lot of guys getting a lot of reps, getting a lot of opportunities to improve. You know, I like the attitude of our team, but I still think there's guys that need to improve. And if we're going to improve in that as a team, in the difficult times, finishing the game, fourth quarter, things get difficult, you get tired, that's when we got to be able to execute and do things well.
Here, a look at some of the numbers provided by Jeff Puritan and Josh Maxson, the UA football media relations staff. Rodney, just what you see there on the screen, talk about that.
Once again, Blake Sims, Gary, has a nice day. 24-39, 288, 3 touchdowns. You know, he had a really good first scrimmage. I think he's made a lot of progress. One thing about Blake Sims, Gary, you know, here's a guy that could feel slighted, kind of, with all the attention being given to Jacob Coker, who's not even here yet, but he's just used it as a way, as a motivation to continue to work hard. And you know, I think he's going to really make it a very competitive situation at the quarterback battle when fall camp opens.
And Rodney, Trey DePriest continues to lead both in production and also just as being a leader, a voice for this defense.
Well, and I think the defense really needed someone who had been around for a while to step up and kind of take that leadership role. Trey Dupree seems to have done that. You know, he's made 8 tackles in the first scrimmage, 14 tackles in 2 scrimmages, and I think, you know, really the things that he's done in terms of trying to, you know, motivate the guys, encourage the guys, and help some of the younger players. You've got, you know, you look at inside linebacker, there's certainly some guys, Reggie Ragland has very little experience, Reuben Foster, and you have a true freshman, Sean Dion Hamilton, who has been performing very well, by the way. So he's kind of had to take on that leadership role with those guys, too.
All right, good news on the field, off the field, a couple of incidents. Alti Tenpenny we've already talked about, and then last Thursday, Nick Saban greeted with some negative news. Linebacker Dylan Lee was arrested and charged with DUI. Lee was at the scene of a minor accident when officers found cause to charge him. He was released on $1,000 bond and was back at practice that afternoon. It's or the next day, actually, when they practiced on Friday. It's likely that Nick Saban will handle the matter as he usually does internally, and whatever discipline he gives out, he'll keep that between him and the player. Well, Alabama saw a high-profile high school player today in the state pick Auburn when Kerryon Johnson of Madison Academy chose the Tigers over FSU and Alabama. But the Tide, Rodney, did pick up a commitment on Monday from the state of Georgia in defensive back Montrell Custis, and this is a guy previously committed to Kentucky. We know how highly Nick Saban covets cover cornerbacks. This guy, already a good prospect, but as of late, has really impressed the Alabama coaches, visited, and they like him a lot, and offered, and he chose it.
Nobody knows defensive backs better than Nick Saban, and if he chose him, certainly you know he's qualified to play here. But, you know, Custis is an outstanding prospect, Gary. The thing I really like about him, he's probably closer to 6'1" than 6 feet. And so he has that height. He's probably going to get bigger. He has good feet. He can turn and run. He can play corner. I really like him as a safety as well. He played some safety, and I think he has those ball hawk skills, play the middle of the field. So he has a lot of range. So I think he's an outstanding prospect.
Commitment number 10 for Alabama in the class of 2015. Well, it's an exciting weekend for Alabama gymnastics. This coming weekend, the Tide will go for the program's 7th national championship. The good news for Sarah Patterson's ladies is that the meet will be at the BJCC in Birmingham, and Alabama has already won 3 national titles in the state of Alabama, so they've got to have a big edge there with the fans. And Coach Patterson is confident that the Tide is mentally and physically prepared for the NCAA championships.
We're right where we need to be. I think that the ladies know that. I think the attention to detail that we've played, I feel like that is important, and you know, we won't veer from our game plan very much.
The score reflected that we did really well, and I think we did, but you know, I don't think that was quite our peak yet. So hopefully we're practicing and that's coming.
The championship meet will begin on Friday night at 7 p.m. if Alabama advances to the Super 6. They'll begin that program at 6 o'clock on Saturday. Of course, you have to make it to the Super 6 to have a chance to win the championship. Individual championships are set for Sunday, and tickets are still available at gymnasticschamps.com. Check them out. Still much more to come on this edition of Tider Insider Television. We'll talk about Alabama's baseball team a little bit later on in the program, but up next, we'll welcome a former Crimson Tide football player who has a big event to talk about. This event they've had it the last several years has really taken off. It involves paintballs and getting a chance to shoot at some former Bama legends. We'll have that for you coming up. And also, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us. Interact with Tider Insider TV right now. Go ahead and give us a call, send us an email, or contact us on social media. We'll be right back with a show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV returns right after this. Well, Chris Rogers signed at Alabama under Mike Shula, but boy, when Nick Saban got here, he was a big part of leading the Tide to its first national championship since 1992. Part of that championship team in 2009 and 2008. He got in the end zone against Tulane, and right now he joins us on Tider Insider TV. Also, Cory Smith from the UA Paintball team joining us as well. Gentlemen, so good to have you, both of you. Thank you, Chris. Cory, you're a big part of getting this UA Paintball team started, but Chris, let's start with you. First, just talk about this event you've got coming up. This is the 3rd year, and we've gotten video of it both times around. And when I see guys like Mark Ingram and such, they're not just out there watching. they're participating. Tell us all about this event.
It's a wonderful opportunity to come back and us a fellowship, and more importantly, involve the fans. Mark Ingram, Mount Cody, Mark Barron, some of the guys that played in the past, and just looking forward to Marcel Darius, Andre Smith. And the most important thing why we're doing is preparing athletes to be successful outside athletics. And it's an honor to be here.
We're watching some video from the event the last couple of years. Cory, let's talk about your role. You're a founder of the UA Paintball team, president. How does this factor in with this event and also helping to get it started?
This definitely helps the UA Paintball Club. It's a great event. Chris Rogers, he does all he can in the community. He's trying to help out more and more. This event helps us because we get to be associated with Chris Rogers and his organization. We get to meet a lot of interesting people. We pull the paintball field there, and then that's what we use as our resource to help out TAP. And UA has supported us from the beginning, and I really do appreciate the time that we get to spend with these guys on a day-to-day basis.
Awesome. It's an intense sport. I've actually participated once before, and you got to have your head on it. Talk about football head on a swivel. On a paintball field, you better have it on a swivel. All right, we're going to put up some more information on that tournament before we get out of here. But Rodney, while we got Chris, let's talk a little football too.
Well, Chris, first of all, I want to talk about your organization a little bit. You talk about in terms of relating it to football. I know that you grew up, you were an outstanding prospect coming out. I had an opportunity to interview you. I know you remember those interviews, but you know, some of the things you learned, how you can help other kids now that are growing up and what you do in your organization.
Yeah, like I said, it's just a wonderful platform that we have being a part of University of Alabama, winning a national title. Coach Saban, he's attention to details, and these kids need to understand how important it is. Just everybody's not fortunate to get a scholarship, but one thing that is unfortunate, you being respectful, yes ma'am, no ma'am, those things, that's what we're trying to preach with our organization.
A lot of those things that we were talking about, some of the things that Coach Saban always preached about, you know, integrity and doing things the right way, those are things that you certainly try to instill in these kids.
Correct, because as you see, 30 for 30 going broke, these kids don't understand interest rate, credit score, and we're just going in and applying it to their everyday life, so they won't be another statistic.
All right, let's take a look again at the information as far as where this is going to be, what time and so forth that's on the screen. And before we talk a little football with Chris specifically, Cory, one more time, I know that TAP Inc. is really building something special and the sport of paintball here at the university. I know right now it's more of a volunteer type of thing, but it's really growing, isn't it?
It definitely is. It's going to take off in the state, I believe. I believe we started it at UA, and I think a lot of schools are coming on board, but we were the leading, and I think we'll continue to grow, and as long as we do things in the community, it'll get better day by day. Awesome.
Get out there on Saturday night, folks. Even if you don't know much about paintball, I know you know about these Alabama football stars, and it's a chance to visit with them. All right, Rod, let's talk a little bit with Chris about this Alabama football team. As I said, he came here under Mike Shula, but he saw firsthand how Nick Saban can take a program, mold it, and build it into a championship program, and now there's a challenge of getting back there.
That's right. You know, Coach Saban says they lost their identity last year. Chris, could you see that at the end of the season?
I saw it from the beginning, just the way they walked on the field. The swagger wasn't there. I mean, they was pretty much beating teams because they're Alabama, but now I've just been able to go there and give a tour today and seeing the hunger, the look at the iron, the tiger. I'm excited about the guys in the spring game, so I'm looking forward to us bringing it back.
So you being out there, you already see a difference in this team from last season.
Correct. They're hungry. They didn't like the way things finished. Kind of remind us when we got beat by Utah in the Sugar Bowl. Just that taste. So I think this year they're going to be real hungry and ready to prove themselves back.
Chris, in 2009, you guys were so driven because in 2008 you were that close to playing for it that year, and Tebow kind of pulled it out from under you. You know, there's a fine line between being a champion and being a really, really good team. The fact that this team last year came up short, is that something they can use to build on and drive them toward a championship this year?
I think two things most fans don't understand. Half of these guys on this team never lost before.
That's right.
And then two, like when you go from playing from a national championship game, because if they beat Auburn, they're in a national championship game, to playing Oklahoma, no disrespect, but it's not the same. So it was a learning stage. And like I said, this year those guys are going to be so hungry, so driven. The way they're working right now, people are going to really love the product they put on the field this year.
Real quickly, Rodney and I were talking about the spring. How important is the spring and even the 8A game toward building momentum for the fall?
I think the spring is very crucial to the young guys, giving them confidence. You're starting to figure out who's going to be the next leader, because right now it's a lot of uncertainty, but going into the summer workouts, you kind of know, okay, this guy's going to be the starter now. So like I said, it's definitely a confidence booster, and like I said, your stars emerge. So.
All right, Chris, appreciate you being here.
Appreciate you, and more importantly, you guys, if you can't come to the paintball tournament, feel free to donate. It's tapinc.us, so we love our support and Roll Tide.
Absolutely. Corey, thanks for your time as well. All right, thanks to our guests. When we come back on TITV, another huge weekend for Alabama baseball has Mitch Gaspard's team soaring in the polls. Plus, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There again is the information on the screen on how you can get in touch with us, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Tider Insider TV. We'll come back right after this. Well, Alabama baseball dropped the first game in the series to Auburn last Friday night at the Joe 2-1, but came back to take the final two games on Saturday and Sunday to win the series. The Tide was rewarded for its efforts as it climbed to number 8 in the country. This weekend, Alabama travels to Knoxville to take on the team in orange, the Tennessee Vols. This Bama team looking like a serious SEC championship contender. All right, Rodney, let's head to the phone lines. First up tonight is our buddy Plato from Panorama. How are you, Plato?
Hey, guys. Good evening. How's the battle at left tackle shaping up so far this spring? And if Dominic Jackson comes in the fall or during the summer, where do you think he'll be given a look at first position-wise?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to say exactly where the left tackle spot is from our perspective. I mean, really only the coaching staff would know. But, you know, when you look at it, I think Cam Robinson's been getting a lot of the reps with the #1 group. Brandon Green, who played tight end last year, originally was a backup left tackle before playing tight end last year, now back this spring at left tackle. He's certainly competing too. You know, they've worked some other guys there. Even Austin Shepard, who's at right tackle's worked there. Leon Brown's worked there some, maybe another guy or two. But, you know, I think Cameron Robinson's kind of making that move, Gary, at the left tackle spot. And I think that was really the hope, you know, that he could come in at such a highly touted player and maybe, you know, again, we've talked about it. When you come in the spring, you have an opportunity to kind of get acclimated to everything. I think it's a big help. Yeah,
it takes a little time. And remember, he should still be in high school. He should be getting ready for a senior prom. Instead, he's trying to win the left tackle job at the University of Alabama. But good progress being made by Cam Robinson, Brandon Green as well, and the other guys that Rodney mentioned. The good thing about having some numbers is you get to try some different guys out, and that's what they're doing this spring. Let's get to an email question. This one comes from us from Urist in Tuscaloosa. What will Alti Tenpenny's role be on this year's team?
That's really hard to say. I mean, he's a very talented player, obviously in a reserve role last year as a true freshman, but, you know, he's got so many guys right now in front of him. You know, when you look at T.J. Yeldon, Kenyon Drake, Derrick Henry, you know, so Alti is going to have probably a tough time, I would think, getting a lot of carries, but when you look at him towards the future, I mean, I think he's got a bright future. He's a guy that can be a great player down the road if he continues to progress. And, you know, think about him, Gary, I've always looked at him, and he reminds me a lot of an Eddie Lacy type.
Yeah, me too. And one thing, Rodney, that you've always pointed out to me very accurately is you think you've got a lot of depth at running back. It doesn't take but 1 or 2 injuries, and then you're thankful that you go 5 deep.
And now how quickly some of these guys, you know, leave after 3 years. I mean, you never know what could happen because, you know, certainly Yeldon is back-to-back 1,000-yard rusher, and Kenyon Drake's also a very talented guy, so certainly you never have enough.
All right. Well, next on the show, it was a rare series defeat for Pat Murphy's softball team. How much did it hurt their standing in the national polls? We'll tell you. And coming up, more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Phone lines are open at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. So go ahead and call us right now so you can get in and chat with Rodney and I, or you can email us. There's the email address on your screen, or reach us on Twitter as well. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The one, the only Tider Insider TV, going, what, 14 years strong?
15. We're headed on number 15.
How about that? We're back after this. Something happened this past weekend in Starkville, Mississippi that rarely happens. Alabama had not dropped the softball series to Mississippi State in 10 years. But on Friday, Bama got the win, but Mississippi State came back to win on Saturday. Then on Sunday, Alabama got 3 in the top of the 10th to take a 3-0 lead. But Mississippi State, give them credit, they rallied for 4 in the bottom of the 10th to knock off Alabama 4-3 and win the series. The Tide drops from 2nd to 6th in the polls. All right, let's head right back to the phone lines. Our buddy BT is on hold. Hey, BT, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing, Gary and Rodney. How about y'all?
Doing great,
well,
BT.
I got a question. My question is, it's a good question about two sports.
Right.
They used to have it a long time ago. I don't know what's gotten away from it, but I just want y'all to get y'all.
Yeah, BT, it is a good question, and they did have to. You did used to see much more of it. It's just harder today, Bill, for athletes at the college level to play two sports. I mean, you do see it occasionally. Jameis Winston's doing it at Florida State, but playing a major varsity sport is demanding year-round. Plus, you've got to take care of your academics. So it's just really hard to do. It takes a special athlete, and really, quite honestly, it takes a special situation.
Yeah, it does, and I think it takes coaches on both sides who are willing to allow a player to do that and, you know, have an opportunity to compete in both sports, you know, Gary. But, you know, you look at Alabama. They've got a couple right now that are well, they signed one, Marlon Humphrey, who's going to also run
Tony
track,
Brown.
and Tony Brown, who's here now, ran track this spring. So, you know, Coach Saban seems open-minded to it, you know, certainly. So I think it can be a positive for your program.
Yeah, it can be, and it's still done occasionally, but not that often. All right, are we going to get to another email? All right, we're going to go to break because we're running out of time. Thanks for that phone call, BT. We're back after this to wrap up this edition of Tider Insider Television. We'll tell you about the upcoming events this weekend for the Crimson Tide. We'll have that sports calendar when we return right after this. And it is a busy week for Alabama athletics. Got baseball, softball, of course, 8A football on Saturday, gymnastics, NCAA championships. We've also got the SEC Women's Tennis Tournament get underway, the SEC Women's Golf Championship. So it's a busy calendar of athletic events at the University of Alabama. And of course, it'll be a special day on Saturday right here in Tuscaloosa. 8A will kick off at 1 p.m., but there's only one place you need to turn for a 1-hour 8A special starting at 11 a.m. right here from live inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. Our CTKR, Crimson Tide Kickoff A-Day special. We'll have analysis, feature stories, interviews, and much, much more. That's live 11 a.m. on Saturday from Bryant-Denny Stadium. So you want to make sure and join us for that. Right now, maybe you want to join us for dinner. We're headed to Buddy's Rib and Steaks. Our good friend Philip Guy and his staff over in Northport. Come out and join Rodney and I for a good steak, and we'll talk some football. Also tonight, as always, the locker room is where we get outfitted with these beautiful original elephant wear dress shirts and ties and much, much more. Full line of outstanding clothing that you can shop for online, or you can visit them right there on the University Strip. They would love to see. All right, that's going to do it for the program. You can catch us anytime on our website, WVUATV.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Good night, everybody.